Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Amy Fiore. I am the director of the Nonprofit Help Desk, which is a program of the Jewish Community Council of Greater Coney Island. It is a pleasure to have all of you here today and a pleasure to have Hugh Wesley Carrington to speak this afternoon. I'm just going to do a very brief introduction about the Help Desk for those of you who are new to the organization. Hugh, if you don't mind advancing slides. So the Nonprofit Help Desk is a program funded by the New York City Council and generous allocations from council members and Solo Bixel Consulting for Nonprofit. We offer a number of different programs for nonprofit organizations based in New York City for one-on-one consulting and for nonprofits across the country with workshops just like this. At our website at nphd.org, you can find an archive of all of our past workshops, including access to the slides. So if there's anything that you're interested in discovering further about, that's a great place to discover more of that. We also have a LinkedIn community that we encourage you to connect with. We try to have active conversations there. We're always sharing what we have coming next, so please join us there. If you wouldn't mind advancing the slide. We are coming to the end of our fiscal year, but we have a whole lot coming up. We have today's session about nonprofit excellence. We have another general session about getting started with grants, and then we have several sessions for organizations that are already awarded funding from the New York City Council for Discretionary Support. Take a look at those. We then come to the end of our fiscal year, and we'll be taking a breather for a moment as we figure out what next season is going to hold, but stay in touch with us. Make sure you're on our email list and we will keep you posted on those. All of our sessions are always free, so please register. And truthfully, we really are a help desk. If you are an organization based in New York City, we offer one-on-one expert support with several of our facilitators in the areas that you see on the screen. If you go to nphd.org, what we are looking for, it's a very short form, but we want you to be really specific. So think of us in the same way that you might think of the Geek Squad. You have problems with your computer, you're going to tell them exactly what's going wrong. Where do you need a little bit of support? We can pair you with an expert in that particular area to provide a little bit of thought leadership, a little bit of help, and a little bit of advice on that. Without any further ado, I hand it over to Hugh. Hugh, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone enjoy.
Good. Thank you so much, Amy. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to share. Our time is very limited, and so as Amy mentioned, there are so many other classes that you can take that's going to dive in and take the deep dive into a lot of the things I'm going to share with you this afternoon. But what I'm sharing with you is just going to be things that are best practices that nonprofit organizations, I'm going to use the word must do. And doing two or three of these things, you're going to say, okay, I'm fine, I'm doing okay. But doing all of them is what's going to lead to success. If you're not doing all of them at some high level, these best practices, I think this is where nonprofit organizations get into trouble. We're not going to have the time to show how they're all connected. But you're going to see it. You're going to see if you're not doing certain things, how it's going to impact you in other places when we look at best practices. And so when we talk about success in nonprofit organizations or in this sector, it doesn't happen by chance. It requires you having strategy in place, the right leadership in place, and of course, being accountable to those who are funding you. And so nonprofit excellence, when we talk about nonprofit excellence, we're talking about some key strategies or excellence in certain areas. You got to have some strategy. And these strategies will position your nonprofit organization for long-term success. You're heading down this road, you're trying to do certain things that's going to propel your organization. And I'm going to share with you today, it's not going to be earth-shattering. It's things that some of you may be doing, but you're not doing it to the level that you should, or you're not doing all of them the way that you should be doing them. And so when we talk about best practices matter for nonprofit organizations because you're able to put yourself in a place now where you're able to sustain your organization. You're going to have some longevity. We know nonprofits that have been around for 50 years, 30 years, some of them over 100 years. And so these organizations follow best practices that allow them to thrive for the long term and to adapt to the changes that are happening around them. So best practices are important for sustainability and for longevity. It's also important for you to develop the trust and credibility of the communities within which you work, to the funders that are funding you to do the work in your community. And so donors, funders, stakeholders are more likely to see you and to support you if you can demonstrate accountability and effectiveness. And the best practices I'm going to share with you are going to get you on that particular road. Best practices matter for nonprofits because it's going to help with your operational efficiencies. Clear systems, structures are going to help improve your decision making. It's going to reduce waste. A lot of times, funders come and they look at what some nonprofits are doing and they see the waste and they're saying, I'm not going to give you any more money or give you any money because you're wasting it. And so if you can put operational systems in place that are going to help you to minimize your waste and to maximize the impact, best practices are important for you. Best practices are important and they matter because it increases your impact. Strong governance, financial transparency. Everyone is aware of what you're doing a program evaluation. I know, I used to do program evaluation for different organizations, and it is a headache. You got to come in, you got to collect data. But if you're not doing some of these things, you don't know the impact that you'll have, and we're going to talk more about that in a few. And so it helps you now to ensure that the resources that you have are being used effectively to achieve your mission. And so best practices are going to help you. Then finally, as we get into what we want to talk about today, best practices are important for nonprofits because it helps you to be compliant legally and ethically. You're following these best practices are going to protect your organization from legal risks and from ethical dilemmas. You're not going to get yourself into trouble with funders or with clients, and the things that you're doing are not doing. And so it's important for you to follow these best practices. So I'm going to age myself a little bit now. And so many of you are probably, some of you may remember Dave Letterman. And on Dave Letterman, every night he would have his top 10 lists that he would give us of things. And so I'm going to give you the top 10 list this afternoon of the top 10 best practices for nonprofit organizations that are going to ensure you're going to have a successful organization. So here we go. If you remember Dave Letterman, the top 10 things. Number 10 is community collaboration and advocacy. Number 9, staff and volunteer development. 8, compliance and legal adherence. Number 7, stakeholder engagement and communication. Number 6, program impact and evaluation. Number 5, effective fundraising and revenue diversification. Number 4 is strategic planning. The third is financial transparency and accountability. Number 2 is strong governance and leadership. And the number 1 best practice that will bring about excellence in nonprofit organizations is clear mission and vision. And so these are the top 10 things that we're going to look into a little bit deeper this afternoon. Hopefully, I'm going to leave some time for you to ask some questions and, of course, to reflect and to share your takeaways. So hopefully, I'm going to move. So the number one reason for you to bet thing that you must do is must have a clear mission and vision. right? And so a well-defined mission and vision statement is going to provide direction and it's going to inspire your stakeholders. You're going to have the direction. You know what your mission is. And so also this vision, your stakeholders are looking at what you're attempting to do and they say, oh my goodness, yes, we want to do that. We can do that. We want to help you to do that. And so having a clear mission and vision statement is extremely important. So regularly, you must review and refine your mission to align with the community needs. You're working in communities and very often the needs of those communities are going to change from time to time. And so if last year or maybe even 6 months ago you put out a mission statement, you may have to go back if things are changing in your community where you're serving your clients, where you're providing these services. You may need to go back and review and refine that mission statement to make sure it is aligning with the needs of your community. You must communicate your vision clearly to your staff, your board members, and your donors. It makes absolutely no sense for you to say, hey, we have this great vision statement. We know all we want to achieve, but no one knows about it. It's on a nice piece of paper on your desk or someplace in your office, but no one knows about it, or it's shared in a drive somewhere on your computer, but no one knows about it. And so it's important for you to communicate that vision to your staff members. They need to know where you're going and how you're going to go about doing that. Your board members must be aware of that, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the board in a second. And then, of course, your donors. They want to know, what is your vision for this organization? I want to know what I'm funding. I want to know what I'm going to be supporting, and you must be able to do that. And then finally here, ensure that all programs and initiative align with your mission. Don't tell me that you're doing something and it's not part of your mission statement, or don't have something in your mission statement that you say you're going to do in your vision statement that you want to accomplish, and then it does not align with what you're actually doing. And so those two things must match up. And so that's why, if you go back to the first bullet again, a regular review and a refining of your mission must take place every so often to make sure that you're on the right path. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is strong governance and leadership. Effective leadership and strong board, and having a strong board are essential to decision making. It's essential to accountability within your organization. And so do not allow anyone into your board rooms that's not going to be able to help you to be able to accomplish these things, make excellent decisions, and to be accountable to what you said you want to do. And so you must define your board roles and their responsibilities very clearly. Individuals coming on should not have to guess at what it is they're going to be doing to help you out. They're there to help you. That's what board members do. They're here to propel the organization to a higher level. And so if they don't know why they're there, you're not going to be able to move. And so define for them their roles, their responsibilities, very clearly what it is you're asking them to do. And part of doing that is to provide leadership training for those board members and for your executive staff. Someone in your organization must be responsible for designing some training. It may be a full day. It may be over a couple of days. It may be a full weekend where you take them away and really indoctrinate them into what the organization is about, what their roles and responsibility. It may be a half a day, how big or small your organization is. And so, but that leadership training is very important before these individuals get into doing what you're asking them to do. Someone must take the time. Again, and here's the mission and the vision statement must be part of this training so that they understand what you are attempting to do. And then this is very important, implement term limits and succession planning for your board members. If any organization, and I'm going to say it, have board members that have been around for 7, 12, 15 years, you're not getting any new energy, you're not getting any new ideas. And so those, it may be time for those board members to move on. Now, I understand that strategically, for certain reasons, certain board members may be there, they're donors, and so you keep a spot for them. But even if you're keeping a spot for them, it may be someone else from the organization and not the same person. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. And so even you keep a board member for that particular organization, tell them we want every so often for you to have someone new who can join the board and to begin to work with us. And so I would encourage you, again, we're talking about best practices. I would encourage you to maybe say 2 to 3 years is a good time for term limits for a board member. If you're getting to 5, you're going, it's a little bit too long. And I would say between 3 to 5 years is a good sweet spot. 3 years is that sweet spot, I believe. And so if you were to say 3 years, or if you were to say 2 years, as you are nearing, or entering that final year of that board member, you should be already thinking about the next board member. Who is that person going to be? And begin to court them. Begin to invite them out to things and to talk with them, take them to lunch, see what they're doing, what they're involved in, invite them to your facilities and to your offices and to see what you're doing, not with the intent that you're going to ask them tomorrow, because you got to get to know them. It's a kind of an interview process. But hey, I'm thinking about this person as a board member and I want to get to know them. And that should happen, 6 months, even a year in advance. And so you're telling them, in a year, we would like for you to join our board, or in 6 months, we've talked and we look forward to. So your succession planning, you should never be in a place where terms are ending and you don't know who's going to take that new position. So strong governance and leadership is extremely important. It is a best practice that you should have in place. Financial transparency and accountability. Nonprofits I should have underlined and bold that must. You must be responsible for the funds that are going to be given to you from donors. And so you have to be in a position where you're maintaining their trust, and you must be in a position where you have financial stability. And so here it is again, conduct regular financial audits and then publish, share, give it out to every and anyone, those annual reports. This is important because you're now in a position where you're saying the funds that you donated to us, this is how we used it. An auditor came in, looked and said exactly what we said. The auditor is also saying as to how these funds were used, and then you publish that. You publish it, make sure your staff has an understanding of those financial reports. Your board members are going to get it, your donors are going to get it, stakeholders are going to get it, even your clients. It should be available. It may be sitting around your waiting area if you have a waiting area, but you may not want to mail it out to them if you're going to use US mail. But if you have their email address, mail it out via email. That's inexpensive. It'll take you half an hour to develop a cover letter and then send that out to individuals that it needs to go to. So it's important not just to get the audit done, but also to share that the audit was positive, or that if it was negative before, we're heading in the right direction, so the individuals are aware of that. Establish clear financial policies and internal controls. Your board, again, is going to help you to be able to do this. On that board, you should hopefully have someone that has some financial background, some financial policy background, and will be able to help you put some of these policies in place, and then these internal controls. And so I hope you're beginning to see the connects again. These things are connected. And so if you're telling me you have good mission and a good vision statement, but you don't have a good board, not having a good board may impact you not having financial transparency and accountability if you're not able to get someone to help you put these financial policies and these internal controls in place. And so I said it earlier, but I'll say it again. Use donor funds as intended. They were earmarked for a certain reason if you want to use those terms. And so use them as intended and then communicate the impact of that to the organization that donated the funds. And as widely as you can, communicate the impact transparently of what happened with those funds. We're going to talk more about that in a little bit when we get to program evaluation. Strategic planning is also important. I'm doing well. It's 12:23. I'm going to speed up a little bit here. Strategic planning is extremely important. A strong strategic plan is going to be able to guide your decision making, and it's going to ensure, again, long-term sustainability. You cannot operate on a plan every 2 years or every 1 year. You got to put a 5-year plan in place, and bring in your board members aside to be able to help you plan is extremely important. Here again, another connect. Board members helping with strategic plan. Board members helping you to make sure you have things in place financially. These things are all connected, and it's not just doing one of them or a few of them. It's doing all of these 10 things at a certain level that's going to propel your organization to excellence. And so make sure that you're setting SMART goals. SMART goals, I know that you've heard this before: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. Goals cannot be without an end. It has to be within 6 months. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. It has to be within the next year. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. And if you have these goals, you're on your way to having a nice strategic plan in place. Review and adjust that plan as needed, or I would say annually. Again, if things are changing in your community where you're providing services, things are changing with your funders in a very dramatic way, then you're going to want to look at that plan more often. But if things are moving consistently, a yearly review of your strategic plan, and that strategic plan is usually, we would say, a 5 to 7 year plan is a decent plan for you to have. And if you're reviewing it every year, you're going to be in a good spot. Again, if things are very dynamic with the services that you're providing, a more frequent review, maybe every 6 months, may be necessary if things is very hectic. And then you want to involve your stakeholders in the planning process. What I usually encourage organizations to do, this is part of the work that I do, is you want to have different focus groups that are going to come in and deal with certain issues. And so you want to bring in a financial focus group. You want to bring in your board. You want to bring in a group of stakeholders. You want to bring in a group of clients. You want to bring in even some funders. All right, whether it's a state level or the federal level or even the city level, bring in those individuals in and have them talk to certain areas of your strategic plan, what you're looking to do over the next 5 to 7 years. And so involve stakeholders as much as possible in the planning process. And I encourage you, if the funds are available to do this, get away from the office. Go someplace, a conference room, up someplace, upstate New York or wherever it may be, if the funds are available, where folks are not focused on work. They're not necessarily going to be distracted by emergencies going on around them, but they're going to be able to focus, put cell phones away, and be able to give you their undivided attention for a day or a weekend, whatever it may be. The stakeholders, you may have to do those locally because there's may be so many, but the folks that are doing this, you should be able to get them away and have them help you to really plan this out. And so you must make sure effective fundraising and revenue diversification is in place. All right. And so relying on a single funding source is very risky. And I know that you know that. It's just a reminder. So diversification ensures stability. And so develop multiple revenue streams. I know it's easier said than done. All right. Grants, donations, sponsorships, earned income, whatever it is, you must have different ways of getting funds to be able to do the things that you want to do. Build strong donor relationships through engagement and appreciation. Engagement comes by inviting them to certain things, making sure that, again, you invite them to your strategic planning. They're being engaged. I'm going to show you some other ways of doing that in a second, but making sure that they're invited to certain activities that you're doing, you're engaging them, and then, of course, showing them that you appreciate what they do. Banquets, galas, whatever it may be, breakfasts, dinners. You're inviting them in, you're letting them know what you're doing, you're letting them know where you're heading, and then you have set aside some portion of that to honor some of them at different times and let them know you appreciate what is going on. It's going to lead to them continuing to donate funds to your organization. And let me go back 1 second to the first bullet here. These grants and et cetera should come at different levels. And so look for federal funds that may be available. Look for state funds may be available. And of course, local funds will be available to you. If the funds are coming down from the federal government and working its way through down to the city, then you may be okay. But even still, there may be other funds at a federal level or even at a state level that may be available to you. And then implement ethical fundraising practices. Again, your board members should be able to help you shape what this looks like. There is the connection, the interconnection again. And so implement ethical fundraising practices and transparency in your financial reporting. Going right back to what we talked about earlier, you did an audit. The audit was favorable. Why are you sitting on it? Share it. Let them know. Part of the engagement, that email is engaging these fundraisers by sending them that report. It lets them know, hey, we appreciate your funds. This is how we used it. The audit says we did well, and we used it as you required us to use it. And we wanted to be transparent and share with you how we're doing it. So implement these ethical fundraising practices, again, making sure that you're not promising donors anything that legally and ethically you cannot or should not be delivering. And again, your board members, your leadership should be able to help you structure these things to make sure you're staying on board. Program evaluation and program impact, huge, huge. One of the best practices here. And so measuring, if you can't measure it, then it doesn't exist. And I tell folk that all the time. If you're not measuring it, it doesn't exist. If you're not telling me 20%, 30% did this, you move the needle somehow, then it doesn't exist. And so measuring outcomes ensures programs are effective and that the resources, again, are being well utilized. Set clear, measurable program goals. Again, your strategic planning, here's the connection again. When you go through your strategic planning, those goals are there. Take those same goals and now measure them. Did we achieve what we said we're going to do? Set clear, measurable goals and making sure that you are able to measure what you did and how you did it. And so use data collection tools, surveys, these impact reports to evaluate your success. A lot of organizations, nonprofit organizations, I usually tell them when I go in, you're sitting on data. You're collecting data on a regular basis. You don't know it's data because you're just collecting forms, doing whatever you do, but it is data. And it's data that can be utilized to measure the outcomes of what you're doing. And so surveys, focus groups, whatever it is, design these instruments to collect this data and then use this data to let you know how effective you're being at what you said you're going to do. And again, to some extent, are the funds being used as we said we're going to use them? So regularly, again, here it is, regularly. These are things that you must do on a regular basis. Regularly assess and adjust programs based on your findings. And so you implemented some program evaluation, you got some results back. Those results should be used now to inform maybe your mission and your vision statement. Those results can be used to inform your fundraising. Okay, we need to go after this donor for a little bit more money because this was successful, and we need to let him or her know, this organization know that it was great, we did a great job. Those results, again, can be used to inform your strategic planning. Hey, we did well here and we want to do this again for another year, or we want to adjust how we're doing it because it was good, it was bad, or it was indifferent. We got to move the needle, so we need to do something else. We need to set some other goals. I'm hoping you're beginning to see again the interconnectedness of these best practices. Don't just tell me, hey, my finances are great and I'm doing well. That is excellent. But what about your program evaluation? How is that impacting your ability to raise money, to diversify what you're doing? And if you're not there, then you may not be in a good place. So again, it's not doing one or two of them, it's making sure you're doing all of them at a certain level. All right, we're moving. Number 7 is stakeholder engagement and communication. Stakeholder engagement and communication. Volunteering matters. Volunteers matter. And for the majority of nonprofit organizations, it is your volunteers that drive what you do. And so engage your donors, engage your volunteers, your beneficiaries, those who are going to benefit from your services. And when you do this, you're able now to create a more stronger, more sustainable organization. Volunteers drive the work that you do. Yes, the donors are given the funds and we need to engage them, but engaging your volunteers at a significant level is also very important. Let's talk about it. And so maintain clear and open communication through newsletters, reports, meetings, whatever it may be, with these individuals, your donors, your volunteers, and even those who are benefiting from your services. And so a newsletter, if you don't have a newsletter, you may want to start it. It doesn't, I know years ago, we used to say, well, I got to print it and then I got to put a stamp on it and put it in the mail, and someone has to go down and take it to the post office. Those days are over. You can do it electronically. There's plenty of forms online. AI can probably, within a few seconds, design for you a newsletter that you can then pop information into on a regular basis that will go out to your donors, your volunteers. You should have a database, an email list set up for each of these different entities where you're saying, hey, this is what we're doing. Here is some things. And then again, these reports, your financial reports, your program evaluation reports should go out to them on a regular basis. It lets them know what you're doing. This is a way of continuing to keep the lines of communication open, and they're being engaged. They're going to respond and say thank you. They're going to respond by asking questions. They're going to respond by saying, how can we, hopefully, by saying, how can we continue to support you in the work that you're doing? You had an excellent financial report. You had an excellent program evaluation report. It's part of the engagement and communication. And then, of course, meetings. When you have meetings, and then some of them are going to be business work meetings, and then some of them should be fun, the galas, the picnics, the barbecues, whatever it is that you're inviting them to, and you're keeping them engaged. And so you show your appreciation to donors and volunteers through recognition programs. And so you should have, every nonprofit should have one evening, one day, whatever it is, where you bring these individuals together and you recognize them with some free food and a dinner and whatever it may be. Or you take them to, you rent out an amusement park for the day, whatever it may be. You may not have funds to do all of those things, but you're showing them that you appreciate them, your volunteers, and your donors on a regular basis. You have to do that. And then actively seek and incorporate stakeholder feedback. When you send out this information, when you engage them, they may, share information with you. Take that information, use it again into whatever of these best practices, refine your mission or vision statement, refine some of your financial processes, refine some of your survey tools, whatever it is. But you're sharing this information and you should be able to incorporate that information. Then don't be afraid to ask a question. How did we do? Do you have any feedback for us? Is there anything you would like to share? We did X, Y, and Z, and we would love to hear your feedback on these things. And that could come through a regular survey that you design to send out to each of these groups. And it may be a different survey for each group. Your donors may get a different survey. Your volunteers may get a different survey. And of course, the clients, those who will benefit from your services, they may get a different survey that says, hey, how do we do? These are the things we attempted to accomplish this year. We thought we did a good job based on our program evaluation. Here is the report. Based on our finances, here is a report. Tell us, how did we do and how can we improve? And then use that information, again, to inform your mission, vision statement, to inform your goals, to inform your strategic planning. Number eight, this is a huge one where a lot of nonprofits get into trouble, is compliance and legal adherence. Failing to comply with legal requirements could put your organization and even the individual themselves in jeopardy. And of course, it's going to ruin your reputation with certain donors, with certain volunteers, etc. And your credibility at that point is going to be shot. And I know it's daunting. It is very daunting at times when you look at the amount of paperwork, etc., that may be necessary to do certain things. And you're saying, who's going to do this? How can I do this? Here again, it's connections. Connected. Maybe you have individuals on your board who have tax experience, and let me put the next bullet up, with IRS regulations, etc. And you're using again their expertise to make sure that you are staying on the road that you should be on. And so stay informed about IRS regulations and state laws. My organization or my company is a for-profit organization, and I have an accountant. And so when the city or the state sends anything to me and I begin to read it, and I said, okay, I got some of this, but the rest of this I'm not understanding, my accountant gets it. All right. She is listed as my representative. And so I would usually scan whatever I get and send to her. And she would say to me, yes, I got that notice. And it lets me know that she's still on their list. And so I get the same notices that she gets, and we're all covered. And so I can't figure it out. I don't know the jargon of the IRS and their regulations, but someone on your board may know or may have the right person. It may be someone on your staff. And so making sure that you are keeping abreast of what is going on there. And of course, the laws of your state, the laws, federal government, if you're getting federal funds, and then of course, cities, regulations, etc. Staying abreast of these things is going to make sure you stay out of trouble, and of course, that you maintain your credibility. And so maintaining proper documentation and records for financial transactions. If you spend $200, there should be a record of how that or where that $200 was spent. The auditor is going to look for it. And you want to make sure you have, again, the internal systems in place to make sure that it is documented. And so legally, you're saying, I'm being compliant. I'm being compliant with what's required of me, and making sure that those things are in plain. Document. It's going to help again with your financial reporting. Once again, there is the connection. Ensure that fundraising activities comply with ethical or legal standards. I mentioned it. I'll just dig a little bit deeper here. You cannot promise certain donors certain things. It can't be you do this for me, I'll do that. You give me $1 million and we'll do this. Person You can't do those things, and I think most of us know. And again, just put the processes in place, put the procedures in place to make sure that funding activities comply with ethical and legal standards. If you don't know, board members should be able to help you do this. You may have staff members who can be able to help you to do this. But once again, those things should be documented so that you're being compliant. When a funder says, how are you doing legally? You should be able to say, we're fine, no issues, credibility is in place. Please give us the funds that we're requesting. We're fine legally with the state, with the IRS, with the federal government, whoever it is, we're fine. And we're good with others who we've received funds from. There are no issues ethically or tax-wise, any things of that nature. And number 9 here is staff and volunteer development. We've talked a little bit about volunteers and engaging them. Let's just dig a little bit deeper here. And so investing in your people is extremely important. I usually tell folks that one of the groups that is most difficult to manage is volunteers. And the reason volunteers are most difficult to manage is because you have absolutely no leverage over them. You cannot dock their pay. You cannot tell them to stay at work late or to come in work early to complete whatever. They're volunteers and they're going to come and go as you treat them. And so investing in people, invested in your staff, and invested in your volunteers is going to lead to higher retention, is going to lead to better engagement, and then of course, the outcome of that is better performance. And so a lot of nonprofit organizations deal with retaining staff. And I tell folks when I go into their organizations, when I look at their turnover rates, that, hey, you're wasting money. Because every time you got to go hire someone else, it takes money to hire that individual. And so invest when you find a good person, whether volunteer or a staff member, invest in them as much as you can, keep them engaged, and you're going to see their performance is going to skyrocket. And so offer regular training and professional development opportunities. Your staff want to grow. I know they want to grow. They're telling me that. And so they want to grow. And so make sure that you're sending them away. There's so many free trainings and different things that they can participate in. You may bring someone like myself or come to the help desk and say, can you bring someone in who can do X, Y, and Z? And so regular trainings to make sure that they're growing and developing is going to keep them engaged, is going to keep them staying, working with you. And then of course, the outcome of that is they're going to perform. They're going to show up and they're going to do what you're asking them to do on a regular basis. And even your volunteers need that. Your volunteers need that type of training and development also, depending on what they're doing. They should also be growing in what they're doing, being up to date to the latest information that's available to them with the type of work, whatever that work may be that they're doing. It lets them know that you are investing in them, not just saying, hey, come do this for us, but never saying, hey, let me help you grow and understand what we're doing and how we're doing it, and investing in them. Recognize and reward staff and volunteers for their contributions. So here it is again, we're connecting some of the dots. These are individuals that at those banquets or at those galas or barbecues or whatever it may be, you've set aside some time, not just to recognize your donors, but you also want to recognize your staff. These are the individuals that are on your payroll that show up day after day to do what you're asking them to do, and they should be recognized not just once a year. It should be whenever you have a win. you take the opportunity to recognize them. And so the same thing could happen with your volunteers. Whenever you've successfully completed an event, it could not have happened without them. And so take the time to let them know that you appreciate their contributions to the organization. And then, of course, at the end of the year-end gala, whatever it is, you may seek to recognize them at that point again. And so foster an inclusive and a supportive organizational culture. As the leader of the nonprofit organization, one of your best practices must be to develop an organizational culture where you're saying, hey, we're going to support you. We know you're a volunteer, but what do you need? How can we help you? And to your staff members, thank you for what you do for us. How can we support you? And making sure that everyone has a voice at the table and they're contributing to what it is you are trying to accomplish. And number 10, the 10th thing, best practice that you can do to ensure your success, excellence as a nonprofit organization is community collaboration and advocacy. Partnerships, partnerships, partnerships. You will not be able to do this by yourself. And so partnerships amplify the impact that you're going to be able to have in a community, while advocacy strengthens the nonprofit influence. Let's talk about this as we prepare to wrap up to our questions or answers. And so identify and collaborate with like-minded organizations. If there's another organization in your community that is doing similar work, you should know them. You should have had breakfast or lunch with them. Their staff should know your staff. And you should have found some way where you're partnering with each other. I know you're fighting for the same dollars from grants and from funders and donors. And sometimes it could be an adversarial relationship, but find a way to partner. I don't want to just make a blanket statement that there's enough money to go around, but there's money out there. And so don't let money or fighting for the same grant affect you. Partner with that person to go after the same grant. All right. And so it amplifies your impact. Instead of serving 200 individuals over a year, you may now be able to serve double that, or at least half of that, and increase your impact in your community. And so work with like-minded organizations in your community. Engage in policy discussions and advocate for issues relevant to your mission. And so these discussions, again, they're going to come up. And so I remember when I worked at a nonprofit organizations, once a year we would get on buses, and these were community health centers, and all the community health centers, we would then go up to Albany in bus loads, and we would talk with our elected state senators, etc., about what we were doing and what we needed from them. And so if you're just sitting back as a nonprofit and you're not engaging in those discussions, you're not on those buses or getting in your car and driving up to Albany or whatever state you may be in and talking with your state officials, or even going to the federal government and doing some of those things, you're not partnering, you're not developing relationships in your community, and individuals are not going to see you as advocating for issues that are important to the work that you're doing, and of course, advocating for work that's important to your mission statement. So leverage these community networks, get to know individuals. If you haven't done it, develop a network of organizations that are doing similar work or related work in your community, and develop some type of council where you're coming together and talking about these issues. Again, it's going to amplify your impact in the community, and it's going to let individuals know that you're not just sitting around, you're active in making sure that you influence what is happening for nonprofits in your community. And so implementing these best practices is going to ensure, I guarantee you, all right, the data shows it, It's going to ensure that your nonprofit is going to be operating effectively, of course, ethically, and then that you're going to be around for some years to come. If you think that you can just do some of these things and be able to get away with it, it's not going to happen. You're going to see where you're going to begin to lack. And so I'm encouraging you, to get on these best practices, doing, as I said, 2 or 3 of these things. Doing them well is good, and it's going to lead to success. But if you're not doing all of them at a certain level, then it may lead to some negative consequences. They're all very much connected. And so let me pause here, and for you to reflect for a little bit. You may have some. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And you may have some questions or comments that you have that I can try to answer, or you may have some takeaways that you would like to share. I'm going to open up to the floor now for that. It's 12:52. We got about 8 minutes. Any questions or comments?
Hugh, it looks like you
Yeah.
have a hand raised.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. Is
Yes,
that
this is
Go ahead.
Zainab. Yeah, this is Zainab. I am with SciTech2U, which is a nonprofit organization that seeks to mitigate preschool to prison pipeline by
Okay.
offering science, technology, engineering, art, and math education to youth in kindergarten through 12th grade. So I
Sounds
have
like some good
partnered
work.
with, thank you. I
Yes.
have partnered with some organizations, but one of the challenges that I've had when I've partnered with them is sort of how to partner with them. So sometimes when I write a grant, do I write them into our grant? Or do they write us into their grant? And then sometimes I just provide services to their students and then they pay us. And then sometimes it's a challenge because if it's just me or just my staff, are they paying the organization or are they paying the staff? So sometimes that gets a little, for me and for them, it gets a little hairy. Like, how do we really partner well so both of the organizations get recognized for the work that they're doing?
Right. And very good question. And you can do that on all of those levels you just suggested. I'm going to step back for a second and say, as far as how people are being paid, I'm not going to get involved in that because I'm not an accountant for nonprofits, but I know the answer exists. And it will exist in a way that both of you will be able to be mutually compensated, benefit from that. So for the financial part, I would encourage you to speak with a nonprofit accountant, and the nonprofit help desk may be able to provide a very succinct answer for that. As far as who writes into whose grant, you're going to look for who has the best. When I wrote grants at the federal level, we usually look for who had the expertise on their staff. And so whoever looked best on paper would take the lead. And then we would say this other person, this other organization would come to bolster what we're doing. This is how their skill sets fit in, and give us the money. We can do this. And so it depends. You don't always have to take the lead. They don't always have to take the lead. It depends on who has the best looking organization on paper, and then who may already have a relationship also with the funder. Hey, we know you. These guys we don't know. And I have to start a new relationship. And so that's the way you go about it. But all the ways you mentioned are excellent ways of going about doing that.
So when we write a grant, we just write them in as a line item budget and then describe the work that they do in the narrative. And that's
Yeah. You could give them a scope of work. You could give them a piece of the work, and you're describing to the funder now, this is how this ABC organization lends to us being able to complete the work that you're asking us to do, or that we're saying we will be able to do, depending on if it's an RFP or if it's a grant.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good question.
Question.
Elizabeth?
Chat.
Oh,
Actually, you have a question that came up first in the chat from Hannah.
Okay, go
And
ahead.
thanks you for the training and says, are there any common legal requirements that you often see being overlooked by nonprofits? And then Elizabeth will come back to you.
Again, I am not the financial expert for nonprofits, but one that I hear a lot is non-compliancy or not being compliant, I should say, with funds that were earmarked, if we want to use those terms for certain things. And so nonprofits, again, money is very tight. And so an organization or the federal government may say to you, here is how these funds should be used. And a lot of times you end up paying staff. It wasn't for administrative costs. And that's how a lot of times they get into trouble. Or some, you don't hear it a lot, but you do hear it, misappropriation of funds a lot of times is, and misappropriation, not necessarily I've used it for this, but it ends up in someone's pocket. And that is a big no-no. And so again, I don't have a list, but I think any nonprofit accountant that you may speak with, if he or she has been doing this for 10 or 15 years, they will be able to give you a top 10 of 5 things that you shouldn't be doing. And this is why it's important for you to have that type of person, someone with a history of doing this, who can say to you, no, that's not the way we do this. It's important for us to do it this way. Yeah.
You have
Hi,
Elizabeth's hand raised.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
good afternoon. Thank you for the great presentation.
You're welcome.
So in number 8, you had your slide indicated about to ensure all fundraising activity comply with ethical and legal standard. So I put a star next to it. Do you or do this nonprofit
Help desk.
help desk, do y'all have that information about the ethical and legal standard of what
We
that is
do.
and what do that look like?
We do. If you want to go to nphd.org, there's a form that you can fill out that just you can ask that very specific question, and we can actually connect you with legal counsel to just
Yeah.
talk through those things. We also have he has given a couple presentations, so I even think on our website I might even be able to just direct you to it. So go ahead and fill out the form. If I already have a video about it, I will send you a link. If not, I will connect you with our attorney, and that would be free counsel,
Okay, thank
as
you
long as
so
you're
much.
based in New York City.
Yes, I am.
Uh,
Brooklyn.
It looks like
Thank you.
Leora has her hand up.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Good afternoon. I really enjoyed your presentation. I thought it was excellent.
Thank you.
2 things. I wanted to know, sometimes, it seems like nowadays there's several funders do not take unsolicited proposals. They say that their board finds the organizations that they fund. Do you
Mhm.
have a list of organizations that do take unsolicited proposals? That's the one question I have. And also I wanted to know if of the presentation, the 10 points are going, can we get them written out in the future online too?
Go ahead, Amy.
So I was going to, I think I can answer both. So all of our presentations, both the video and the slides, will be available on our website in a week or 2. So you'll be able to find all of that. We also do have a workshop about grant making coming up in a week or 2. So just go to our website and you can sign up for that. I was actually just chatting with the presenter for that workshop. So I will also make sure that question is answered. But Hugh, definitely feel free to tackle that question that unfortunately there's never a really good answer for with unsolicited funds.
Okay.
All right. I don't
All right, thank you.
see. Go
So
ahead.
there are
Your
2 more
voice.
questions. There is, can you go over in a flash slide number 9?
Slide number 9. Let me in a flash. Let me go
So
back.
that is our last question.
All right. Let me see if I can share.
And someone is saying, and 10, please.
Okay.
For everyone who is not looking at the clock, we are just after 1 o'clock. So for anyone who only had an hour, thank you for joining us. But if you want to stick around for Hugh to
All
go
right.
and revisit
For some
those couple-
reason, you won't be able to see the slides. For some reason, it's not allowing me to share. I'm not sure why.
Oh, hold on. I'll
Okay.
give you permission to share. I don't know why you can't share.
All right.
I'm
It is
going
saying
to-
advanced sharing options, hosts
I'm
only.
making you the host, so
Okay.
hopefully
All right. Let me see.
that'll do it.
All right. It's still not doing it.
Strange.
Not sure why. It's saying to me here, who can share? Hosts only. Let me click that. Maybe that'll do it. No, I'm not sure. Anyway, let me go
Oh.
quickly because I know we're out of time. Let me see. Number 9, slide number 9 basically talks about staff. And as Amy mentioned, you're going to get these slides, staff and volunteer development. We're asking you here to make sure a best practice is investing in your volunteers and in your staff. Regular trainings and professional development for them, recognizing them. One of the worst things we can do for our staff and our volunteers is not letting them know we appreciate and thanks for how they're helping us, and then fostering an inclusive and supportive organizational culture where you're saying, hey, we want you, we appreciate you, we love what you're doing for us, and we want you to continue to work for us. And then number 10 is community collaboration and advocacy. Partnerships, as the first question mentioned. How do I do this? How do we write a grant with this person? Yes, we can pay you for services you're providing for us, but how do we do it? Figure out a way to do it, and partner is going to amplify your impact, and you got to be part of the conversation for advocacy. Going to the State Department, or the state, or going to the federal government, or down to the city, wherever it is, show up when individuals are showing up to advocate for their communities and for nonprofits. If you don't show up for those things, then they're not going to show up for you. And so be part of the conversation, be part of partnering with individuals in the community who are doing similar work, and it's going to again lend to your influence. That's a word we like to use now. I'm an influencer. It's going to lead to your influence within your community as a nonprofit organization. All right, I apologize. I'm not sure why it wouldn't let me, but hopefully you got the gist of it. You're going to get these slides. And I think, as Amy mentioned, or as we saw the trend, I should say, each of your questions is likely to be answered by a workshop that the nonprofit has done already or that will be coming up. And so when you look at each of these 10 things, I think you can drill down by getting to listening to a course, or one maybe coming up later this year that will help you drill down into these things. I know I didn't drill down, but it was on purpose. We only have an hour, but I wanted to show you the connectedness of them, that if you're telling me you're doing one and you have great community collaboration, but you don't have a good board, you're not doing things to the best level that you could be doing them. All right. It is 1:05. We've kept you longer, and Amy, I'm going to let you have the last word here as we close out.
Excellent. So Hugh, if you can make me host one more time so I can close out the meeting. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Again, visit us at hb.org. Stay in touch with us. Send us your questions. We are here to help, and we appreciate all of your time. See everyone soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
It's
God bless.
wonderful. Thank you. I'm all the way in Texas, so
Wow. Okay.
Joining us.
I came
We
across it. I
appreciate
said,
it.
I'm signing up. Thank you for
So
letting me
glad.
attend.
Thank you.
Of
Thank you for
course.
being here. Amy, you have what you need to close out?
I think, no, would you mind just click on my picture? Can you click on the 3 dots and just say make host?
Okay. All right. There we go. All right. Where is it? Where is it? Make co-host or make host. Okay.
Make host.
Okay. You got it?
Excellent. Hugh, this was fantastic. Thank you, everyone who's still on. And Hugh, I will follow up later, but this was excellent. I appreciate your
Okay,
time.
thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.